EV charging isn't fast enough. It's a common trope we hear. Those who have not tried an EV think that charging in 5 minutes is a must. Well, that's now possible, at least in China, thanks to BYD. If you think that's a game changer, then stick with me while I try to give you an alternate opinion on whether it is. You heard right, BYD has launched two cars on which you can add 400 kilometres, just a hair under 250 miles of range in 5 minutes. The cars are both built using their new Super E platform and the BYD Blade battery, which has been making waves not only for its ability to charge quickly, but also for its very high cycle life and further improved safety. It's not just the cars that are newly announced, but the charging stations that are capable of doing those recharge times, as that's not something we currently have in the wild at the moment, at least outside of China, where a handful of BYD flash chargers have been installed so far. In most of the rest of the world, there would be a bit of a limitation with the charging connectors we have standardised on, as they tend to support no more than about 500 kilowatts, although BYD have demonstrated the use of two chargers at once to overcome this on older hardware. While infrastructure would be one limitation of a car that can charge this fast, the other would probably be cost. It needs a lot of very heavy wiring to move that much energy and a big cooling system, adding to the purchase price of the car. It's worth pointing out that this isn't the first 5-minute recharge we've seen thus far. A Chinese competitor, NIO, have been rolling out battery swapping that takes about this long. Swapping uses an automated station to remove the old battery and fit a new one, and generally takes a bit under 5 minutes. That's been around a few years in China, so it's already reasonably mature. There are no swapping stations in the UK at the moment, and only about 60 so far in mainland Europe, with infrastructure being a bit of a limitation of this method of rapid energy delivery. After all, NIO have gone out on their own. Only NIO cars can use NIO swap stations. That places the onus on a single company to roll out all of the infrastructure, and there is no interoperability with other manufacturers. Swapping feels like an interesting development, one that might work in China, especially in some of their large cities where many people can't charge at home. But it's not guaranteed that they will achieve sufficient market penetration for the idea to come to fruition everywhere. What I wonder is whether this is required. Sometimes when you hear an argument being made, it's worth stepping back and asking who is making that argument, as well as who is not. In this case, there are two main groups of people calling for 5-minute charging. That's the techie nerds who want to see manufacturers push the envelope, and people who haven't yet tried an EV and therefore don't have real-world working experience of what they really need. In my experience, it's pretty rare to hear someone who already has an EV say they need 5-minute charging. And there's a reason for that. They've tried longer charging stops and not found them to be the disadvantage that people who haven't tried them think. Indeed, I'd go so far as to say that by and large we have found them to be more convenient than a short stop. It's really a matter of what else happens at the same time. When you refuel a petrol or diesel car, you have to wait for the process to finish, stay with the car and move it as fast as you can afterwards. Anyone who's tried to use a cash point at a petrol station will know how annoyed people can get if you aren't off the pump straight away. Meanwhile, when recharging an EV, we don't have to wait with the car for it to finish. Because it's going to take 15 minutes or more to get what we need, we can park, plug in and walk away. Go and do those other things we want to do. That might be taking a comfort break, buying a drink for the next leg of the journey, checking emails, or having a look at the latest traffic situation. And it's surprising how a couple of those can add up. A stop can easily take 15 minutes, even if it didn't seem like it did. And all the while, the EV is busily charging, without you having to stand and monitor it. Now don't get me wrong, some cars take a bit longer to charge than others. My Renault Zoe, for example, would take almost an hour to do a full charge, and that's a long time, no doubt. But here's the thing, I've never had to wait that long for it, because that would only happen if I did a big charge, and that's a bit rarer than you think. Usually I'm stopped for less than half of that, just to get a bit of charge. Remember too that the Zoe isn't made anymore. It's an old design. It doesn't offer what more modern cars do, so look to newer cars if you are worried about charging time. Based on my experience, a car that can do a big charge in 20 to 30 minutes fits well with the timing of a driving stop. 20 minutes for those who will do a big charge during a trip on a regular basis, and 30 minutes or so for those who rarely will. And that's pretty much where we are already. There are a number of options that can do that now. What's more, software improvements to battery preconditioning mean it's becoming more consistent across temperatures as well. Consistency is very convenient, so we know what to expect on each stop. In summary, I don't want a car that can recharge in 5 minutes. It would cost extra and be less convenient than a car that charges in more like 20 to 30 minutes. A slightly longer stop gives me a chance to walk away and do something else while the charge happens, which is what we mostly need to do on a long journey. It might be wise to watch what you wish for. Manufacturers might rush to deliver exactly that, building a much more expensive car to achieve these extreme speeds, despite the infrastructure not supporting them. Instead, take it from us existing EV owners when we try to tell you that there is such a thing as a faster charge being less convenient. You probably don't really need 5-minute charges. You just might think you do, before you try what already exists. If you disagree, ask yourself this: could that be because you haven't yet experienced why it's okay for EVs to be different to ICE cars? Or might it be that you don't want to even consider anything new? Thanks very much for joining me. If you have questions or comments, then leave them in the appropriate section. I'd love to hear your thoughts in that section. If you have an EV, do you want 5-minute charges, or are you happy with what you have? If you haven't yet tried an EV, can you imagine why a slightly longer stop can be more convenient? If you've liked the video, then it's a big help to me if you click the thumbs up button, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber if you want to see more from me. Thanks.